You're listening to the Art of Resilience Show, a podcast that inspires those seeking to uncover their own resilience. I'm your host, Hussein Albiati, once a refugee, now artist, author, and entrepreneur. Join me in my mobile studio as we sit down with some of the most diverse, knowledgeable, and resilient guests to discuss their state of mind. Welcome back, my friends, my people. I have a very special episode today with some remarkable architects, interior designers, the people that I basically grew up with during college. I'm so excited to be here because I get to talk about what I love, things like resilience, art, design, with the people that do it on a day-to-day basis. So I'm really excited for this episode. We're here in a very special place to talk about these things. Literally doing a podcast episode with these remarkable people, but also we're going to be doing a talk here. So I kind of want to give you a behind the scenes of how we do these things so you can kind of get a feel for what your boy does on a regular basis. Anyway, so today I am blessed with the energy from my girl here, Kate, who hails all the way from Denver, but I'm going to let her kind of give us a little spiel about what she does, where she's from, and how she got into the world of design.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm Kate Chapman. I was born and raised in Michigan, but moved out to Denver, Colorado in 2006. I'm the managing director of an architecture and design firm, Blitz. We are 18 people strong across 4 offices in San Francisco, LA, Denver, and St. Louis.
That's amazing. That's so cool. So today I only have a few questions for you. One primary one, I understood this question growing up differently than how I do now. And I'm sure you see this question a little differently too in your world. What are supportive structures to you?
Supportive structures to me are anyone or anything you can rely on to get you through what you're going through. And that could be, sometimes for me, that's stress cheese. These very specific, cut little pieces of cheese.
Okay, what kind of cheese is it?
It's Colby Jack cheese.
Okay.
1.5 and 1.5 squares. And that's so that I don't eat a whole block. I can just grab a few and
there you
wander
go.
Back into my office.
There you go.
Sometimes it's my friends in the industry, going to them and saying, I can't, are you going through this too? Why is it always like this? And sometimes it's my husband who is just there for me no matter what.
I love that. It's a great answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the other thing that we really face, especially today in our world, in the design community, is this idea of how much we adapt environmental materials, right? Things that let's say people in the regular world aren't necessarily constantly thinking about, but we all are, right? We're thinking about choices, how we make better choices around material, all those kinds of things. So what does resilient design mean to you?
I wish I knew. I feel like people spend their whole career chasing this. If I had it, I would bottle it up and sell it and that wouldn't work. But the path my career has taken is more towards the management side. So for me, resiliency in design is creating a world in which people don't get burnt out in design, so that they feel supported and can continue to work and continue to be super creative. On Maslow's hierarchy, triangle hierarchy pyramid, creativity lives at the very top. And if you don't have everything supported underneath, you can't possibly be creative and you can't think of innovative ways to do things. So I had much less of that in my career. So I feel like it's my calling to create a new generation of designers who have the opportunity to feel supported and loved and cared for at work, so that they are less worried about does my boss hate me? I'm going to get fired for not working 80 hours a week.
Right.
And they're more worried about should I choose this wall covering that has PET in it because it's recycled, but we can't recycle it. I want people to be able to think about those things and not
feel the pressure.
Exactly.
Feel the pressure. I love that. That's a phenomenal answer. Thank you. You could probably bottle that up, actually. We're going to bottle that up here.
Excellent. Please do.
All right. So my last and third question is, share a story that helped define your state of mind.
So my state of mind right now, and this is like maybe a little like wah. I had, what you might call an old-fashioned, mental breakdown over the summer.
Sure.
And what brought it to me was our technical director at our firm, pulled me aside and was like, you really have to work on your confidence. And that was shocking to me and was shocking to everybody I tested the question with.
It's kind of shocking to me, but
I'm not a not confident person.
right,
I'm very confident. And that took me by surprise that I literally went to all my friends and I was like, I got some feedback that I'd like you to I want to workshop with you.
I want to bounce this around.
Yeah, what do you believe? And they were like, that person clearly doesn't know you at all. Was all the answers. And I was like, no, this person does know me and sees me in a way at work that tells me that something is wrong. And I had to do a serious check-in with myself, and had to take a step back and take care of myself because I knew that things weren't right. So while it isn't I'm in a wonderful place.
Yeah.
It's the reality of what's going on in our industry. Since the recession, design has become more and more commoditized. Clients want it better, but they want it cheaper and they want it faster. And then everybody's pushed to do more with less.
Yes.
And that it takes its toll, especially when what you're doing is a creative process and not just widget making, although widget making is very hard.
Also very creative and also very demanding. Yeah.
So that's, it's really important to hear what people are saying, because I could have just been he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Instead, I was like, wow, that's really antithetical to what I believe about myself. So that means that something is not right.
I love that. So how did you sort of help yourself come through that, come out of that, or dwell in it, or what tool did you use to kind of, I guess, dwell in that confidence idea and have it really become your state of mind, from what I'm hearing? Yeah,
so I relied on my supportive structures. I went to the two partners and said, I need a break, and they were like, okay, take it.
That's amazing.
And I went to my doctors and said, something is chemically wrong, so they said, here's some medication to help. And
wow,
my whole community was like, this is clearly not who you are, and we're going to help you and hold you up until you get back to who you are, because you helped us in the past. And so
Kate, that is phenomenal.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and your vulnerability here with us in such a short period of time, that's confidence for me, and that means that you are kind of trending back into your health and healthy habits, and way to lean into your supportive structures. And that's kind of my point, right, is that our state of mind is really cultivated around our communities and the people around us and all those kinds of things, and then bringing attention to things that may not be, even, we can't see it in the mirror sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else can feel it.
And burnout is such a big thing in our industry that
yes.
Almost inappropriately, anytime someone gives me an opportunity,
yeah.
they're like, how are you doing? I'm like, actually,
yeah,
not good, but let me tell you about how I'm working on being better.
There you go.
And there's a lot of people who are like, I was kind of asking for a fine.
Yeah.
Great. I was asking.
You don't get that anymore. Not
no.
during COVID. We it's got to be real.
No, I've seen some.
I love that.
They're you're gonna go to parties and be like, so what is your innermost thoughts, or what is your deepest trauma? Everybody share. And everybody will be like, yes, let me share my deep trauma.
Yeah, and that's good. We got to communicate.
Absolutely.
We got to get it out of the bottle, right?
Exactly. And I hope that
love that.
Every generation has been better at it, and I just hope that we keep getting better at it.
I love that, and that's what you're there to do in our design world. Thank you so much.
Of course,
Kate, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, I can't wait to do the talk and get to know you guys a little bit more even throughout the talk. So thank you. All right, welcome back. I got Kendra here, and she's, with the 3 sentences she already laid on me, she's already beyond amazing. Kendra is also here for the IIDA conference that we're here setting up at, and our goal is to, again, further this idea of what resilience means in different parts of our communities, with different parts of people, and how that shows up and where does it show up. Kendra, please introduce yourself to our audience and let them know what you just told me about yourself.
My name is Kendra Shea, and I'm also a podcaster. I'm an interior designer as well, which is why I'm at this interior design conference. I work for myself, but my true love really these days is podcasting about design and what it's like to be an interior designer and my podcast focuses on those who have been in the business 10 years and under. So a lot of the time we talk to giants of design and what it's like to be a professional and talking to clients, but really the first 10 years and maybe more of being an interior designer is production. You're at your desk on a computer all day long.
Yes.
You're not doing as much design as you do. You come from school where you're doing these big idea projects and they want to see what your design style is to when you start working in the office, you're just sitting at a desk taking other people's designs and turning them into drawings that can be built or that can be read.
You're practicing.
So you spend a lot of time not doing the thing you think you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to kind of dispel that myth
I love that.
Of what being an interior designer is.
Yes.
Because it's not bad. The early years aren't bad. It's just totally
It's just how
different.
you view them.
Exactly. And it's not HGTV. I'm going to say it. We'll probably all say it. It is a different beast than that, and especially commercial interior design.
I love that. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That is something all of our youth peeps and people who want to get into design worlds, right? It's like you got to know the foundation. You got to do things outside of your comfort zone, and you got to show up on that computer and put in those hours and that hard work. Very cool. So, for you, like what does supportive structures mean to you?
That's an interesting one. I think it's a combination of people and people who support you and systems that those people can use to support you. Because somebody can want to be there for you, but if there isn't a system in place to help them help you, nothing's going to get done. You're just going to keep turning your wheels and keep talking. So I think it's a combo of people who support you and society, which is bigger than just us sitting in this room, having the structures to support you, whether it's in just your day-to-day life, if it's a good day or a bad day. So
I love that. Actually, I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit, pick you up a little bit more. I love that so much because we don't think of it as, sometimes it's like people, sometimes it's, like you said, systems, sometimes it's things that we can rely on, right? It's things that we know are going to be there for us, right? So we can lean on it. That's really cool. I never heard that answer before. So, like for you, what does resilient design mean?
I think again, it's a combo. So often we talk about resilience and design and the physicality of it, right? So for a long time, I designed public spaces in schools, and when you think about a school and resilience, you think about teenagers and kids and how hard they are on things, right?
Yeah.
So you need to think about how that wall is going to stand up to teenagers kicking it in their backpacks and all of that stuff. So I think resilient design does mean spaces that can stand up to that, but at the same time, you don't want those spaces to look like they were created in an exact date. You want it to be a little bit more, I hate the word timeless, but timeless. Classic. And that it's something that you don't look at it in 20 years and go, ugh, what? Why? That was done in the 2000s. Even now I look at 90s design and I immediately go, oh, that was
what
done
happened?
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Who made that decision and why?
Yeah.
So trying to kind of design that will last through time, or even we talk about sustainability in interior design, and so something that is sustainable doesn't mean it's going to last for 100 years, but it'll last through its life cycle, and that I think is an important thing to think about. So resilience isn't necessarily lasting for 100 years and sitting in our landfill. It's something that stands up to the here, to the now, makes sense for now, and then either kind of rolls back into whether it gets recycled, whether we reuse it, get repurposed. We kind of find a way to keep that moving forward.
I love that. I don't think I've connected the recycle to resilience aspect of things. I appreciate that. That's a good thing to keep in mind. So with all those things, and I know you have your podcast, so share with us, what's your podcast name?
It's called Design Over Drinks.
Design Over Drinks.
Interior designers will always have a drink in your hand.
I love it. Yeah, you got to think things through.
It's not just alcohol either. Middle of the day, you will catch us with like a coffee. We always go on coffee runs. If you've ever been in an architecture office, the zzz the coffee machine every 10 minutes does not stop.
Yeah.
Or even like water. You see us headed. We always have water bottles.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally carried one with me here today. There's always a drink in hand. So for me, it felt very appropriate to be talking design.
With a drink in hand.
With a drink in hand.
I love it. Love it. Where can people find your podcast?
They can find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts
Okay.
at Design Over Drinks.
Cool.
We're on Instagram at Design Over Drinks Pod.
Perfect.
And you can also find me via my website, KS Shea Designs, which then talks about my design work and also leads you to the podcast.
Right, because you're a business woman who runs her own business, her own interior design company,
do.
which is so badass. I commend you for that.
Thanks.
Because the design world is not easy. It is a beast. So
Sure.
I commend you to that work because it's remarkable. So last question for you. It's like, share a quick story with us about how you define your state of mind.
This was the hardest one for me because I think I'm still in it. I'm still trying to figure out where my resilience is. I almost most definitely quit being an interior designer after I went through 6 years of school. So I got my associate's, my bachelor's degree. I worked in firms and was like, this is not for me. I am unhappy. The office life is not my jam. I'm not here to sit in an office all day, but I still love to design. I love to create, and I love getting on the computer and just getting drawings done.
Yeah.
So I realized that for me, it meant stepping away from what quote-unquote interior designer does, working for that big capital A architecture firm, and really just finding my niche in design.
Yeah.
And so I started my own little business. I spend a lot of my time just doing production for other small interior design firms. I support our industry as a whole. And then in the meantime, get to podcast, which is honestly my favorite part. I love talking design and talking about what we can do and how we can make change via space.
Well, Kendra, you are definitely someone I admire already. I'll definitely be following your podcast soon. And, I just appreciate your vulnerability by saying that, I'm still unraveling what that means for me. And that's a great place to be. And I feel that that's something that you're obviously sharing with your audience. It's okay to kind of dwell in the unknown while you figure it out.
And not know. Sometimes you don't know. And just because you get a degree in something doesn't mean you have to use that degree in the way you're supposed to.
I know.
You feel that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'll be sharing a lot of that here in a bit. But on that note, thank you so much for showing up early to the talk today and doing this with me. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your vibe is great. I can't wait to chat with you a little bit more later on. So we have the incredible Jenna with us now. After Kendra, it was great to get to know her and her business. Jenna has a whole different world that she's going to tell us about and how that weaves with resilience and, again, our continued topic here today with this new episode for all you guys that think about design, art, and that, for anyone out there who thinks this shit's easy, I promise you, it is not. Jenna, tell us about your world. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So where are you from?
I'm from San Francisco, originally from Sonoma County.
Very
Born
cool.
and raised there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what do you do in the design community?
I work. I'm an interior designer in the commercial world. So I work on designing people's offices, people's spaces, amenities, and places that people enjoy and have fun in.
The art in which we inhabit.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. How long have you been doing this?
For about 11, 12 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Do you work at a firm by yourself?
I work at a firm.
Okay.
Yeah, I work for RMW Architecture and Interiors.
Very cool. Right on.
Yeah.
All right. So first question I have for you is how do you construct an idea around what it means to have supportive structures?
Well, supportive structures really are your community, that builds you, that, I grew up having a really supportive family and friends, and, now that I'm, in the working world and making my way through the world, I'm finding, my community in the city, in the Bay Area, and really having that supportive structure, people that make you feel, build your confidence, because that is a huge thing, especially in our industry, to have that confidence to speak up, to speak your truth and talk about what you want to talk about and what you think is important. Yes. And the only way to do that is to have those supportive people around you and to share ideas. And But really, for me, my family is my supportive structure.
I love that. I can heavily relate to that. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So my second question is, you're in the design world. You've been at it for 11 years. You went through school. We sometimes don't count school, which is weird, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't count school.
No. But I feel like
No.
school counts. Like you put in the time there, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with design school, because that kicks your ass. Like, I don't care who you are. That's an ass whooping right there. So count it, With all that experience that you now have under your belt, like, what does resilient design mean to you?
Resilient design is really about having that flexibility, really having a space that you're thinking of what it can be in the future and not just what it needs to be now. It's about having that forethought of how to, if a user leaves and doesn't want to use that space, how can it be flexible enough to bring someone else in? And how can everyone use it? And not just for one person, but for all, and how it's, equal access to everyone.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
For me, every time I think resilience, I think like a rubber band, right? Like, how can I stretch this into this other thing and morph that and whatever? That's really cool. And thinking in the future.
Always thinking, what can this be? How can this be used in the future? And how can it flex and, really be for everyone?
That's amazing. I love that. That's a great way to answer that question. Thank you. All right, so the last question I have for you is, share with us a story that you believe helped define a state of mind for you.
There's so many.
I know.
There's so many things
especially
that
with the design world.
Yeah. I think for right now, a few years ago, climate is a huge thing, and especially right now it is. But a few years ago, my parents lost their house in the fires in Sonoma County. And it was my grandparents' home and their home, and it was a lot of our childhood
memories.
So that kind of woke me up. I mean, always there's, in California, you're always thinking, or a lot of people are thinking about the environment. But then I think it was this big call, like, this is not just a special event. This is going to keep happening. And we have to do something about that. And how does our industry react? And what can I do? And, as a person, but it's not just about us as singular people. It's us as a community, and how, as a designer and in our industry, how we can affect that. So that is kind of, at the forethought of my brain right now, and continues to be. So.
I love that. Seriously, and that's the essence of resilience and what motivates us, right? Is like, sometimes you get woken up by something, sadly, something tragic, or something that you wouldn't think would happen or happen to you or your family, and it does. And then you have to now build upon that and learn from that. And then you use what you're gifted with and what you went to school for and whatever to help bring awareness to that. And that's amazing. Well, and again, I'm sorry that, those things happen in our world, but I'm glad you're in that world, because you're taking that energy and making something positive of it.
Yeah, and it's good to see, that whole community is, like, when you're talking about resilience, coming back, and they're not just leaving that area. We're going to do this again, and we're going to do it better. And that's all about resilience. So
I love that.
Like, your book and everything kind of really speaks to that. It's cool.
Jenna, thank you so much for signing up to do this with us, and really showing up and being vulnerable and sharing with us some really important stories to you and your family. And I can't wait to see what you keep building, what you keep doing, and getting to know you a little bit more throughout the day. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm grateful that you're here, but I want to know a little bit about you. So we're here with Verda, and she's going to tell us a little bit about where she's from, what she practices, how long she's been practicing in the creative world, in our community, And I'm just excited, man. I'm just like, my energy's getting pumped up. The more people come in this room to hear about all your stories. So tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you. We talked earlier off
Camera.
I was about to say off camera, and I'm like, wait, that's not quite right. About how you might pronounce my name, and that I am from Nicaragua, but it's an English American name, so it's like it's awkward. But I loved how you pronounced it. Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, I was born there, but I've lived all over and ultimately in the United States for most of my life.
Wow.
And always had a passion for art. And so my first degree is in art, and then I studied design, and then I came back to study art again. But I started an interior design practice 30 years ago. Wow. I'm actually celebrating my 30-year anniversary for my interior design practice. I know.
I mean, I just have to.
I feel
That's
old.
amazing.
Oh my God. Yes.
No, age is nothing, but
True.
your efforts are to be commended. 30 years.
30 years in business at a firm in San Francisco called Studio O+A. We do mostly office design, workplace design, and we started in the 90s. And back then we were bringing down cubicle walls and getting CEOs off the corner offices and bringing light to the employees and democratizing the office. And it felt like this incredible revolution.
So you started the revolution, is what it is.
The workplace revolution.
Yeah, I
and
love
now,
that.
Well, and then in the maybe about a decade ago, I realized, okay, we're done. And now we're designing for the corporate 1%, and we're doing all this lavish offices that you know, where's the meaningful work? Where do we how do we get design to be more than just solving for these rich clients' problems, right? And so I had a complete existential crisis about 10 years ago, and I've been exploring different avenues since then in my design practice. I actually converted a food truck into a mobile design lab. I took it out into communities a few years back just to see how design could solve for bigger problems. And then lately, in the last couple years, I've been completely focused on climate change. So for me, resilience is a big part of thinking about climate change, right?
You're a revolutionary.
Thank you.
Period. You're a visionary and a
you.
revolutionary. And I appreciate that so much. I can just literally I got goosebumps because I can just feel your passion come through, not only your work but just your voice and your story. So thank you for keeping at it for 30 years as the evolution has grown. That's remarkable. What would you say your supportive structures are?
Okay. That's a really good one because I feel like sometimes I don't support myself very well.
It's hard to when you're creative.
It is. And I kind of think that word supportive structures is almost wrong in a way because to me structure implies rigidity. You know, like a form and a format. Yeah. And so I almost would say supportive systems because
I knew she was good.
To me, it's about habit. For me, my supportive systems are habits, good habits, right, that I do every day for myself, that mostly around being present in the moment, which has become so much harder to do with our cell phones and the crazy lives that we're living.
Are you sure you don't want to give the talk today? I'm just, you want to switch today?
Sure, why not?
I love that.
Oh my goodness. So, and it's not, and I'm not good at meditating. I'm practicing, I'm trying to get better at meditating. And it's about drinking my 8 glasses of water a day. It's about making time to relax and get away from the digital world. Yeah. Those are my supportive systems. Yeah.
I love that. And thank you for restructuring my questions here because I love that. That's a very beautiful twist on it. Thank you. What does resilient design mean to you? I mean, I feel like you kind of touched on that. Yeah. But what does it mean specifically to you?
Yeah. I've been thinking about resilient design a lot because, like I just said, climate change is basically what I want to devote the rest of my career to, figuring out how our practice can step up to climate change and climate justice, truly. And resilience is one piece of it. I was just listening to a podcast, Hidden Brain.
Sure.
Do you know that podcast? And they were distinguishing between mitigation and adaptation. So with climate change, you need both. But mitigation is about trying to solve for climate change, trying to slow it down, trying to keep us under 1.5 degrees or whatever, right? And we're realizing little by little that we're slowly or quickly, however you look at it, losing the race, right? And that is going to come down to resilient design and adaptation. But to me, resilient design is still, it needs adaptation in it, because to me it's still about conquering nature. Like I could think of sea level rise, and a lot of these cities, what they want to do is build walls,
right. Yes.
But which is great, but it's still this perspective.
This is battle.
Yeah,
it's a battle instead of
that you can control
instead
nature.
of realizing.
Right. Versus adaptation. If you bring adaptation to resilience, then you're realizing that yes, we're going to warm. We're going to have these events, these climate events that we're going to have to adapt to, but we're going to do it in a way where we're working with nature to solve. And so resilience, and so to me that's transformative. Whereas resilience is about elasticity and developing this elastic situation.
It's like you've been a designer for 30 years or something.
Yes.
That's how I feel, at least. You know,
learned a few things.
Just a few.
I'm more of a generalist, so don't ask me to get super specific about anything.
No. But here, those are the ideas that get to drive our, detailed work.
I like the ideas.
Yeah, we all do, but it's like taking those things and in strides, right? Like, how do we take that big idea and sort of, all right, I can't focus on every single thing, but how can I take it in the design world and then, like you said, adapt these ideas to not necessarily build up a wall, but do something else that can bring that water in a beautiful way, instead of like, oh, this thing is coming to attack us. It's more like, no, this is nature doing its thing because we heard it in some way. And like now we have to think about not necessarily inflicting that pain back, but absorbing it, realizing. And I love your mentality around that.
Well, and I feel like the climate crisis is a result of our systems approach to things, systems of oppression, which include this idea that we can control nature. And that's why you can't approach resilient design from this idea of control.
Yes, I appreciate that so much. So my last question to you is, throughout your understanding of design and this creative world, what would you say your state of mind is today?
In relation to design, or just my state of mind?
In relation to who you are.
It's really actually kind of funny. My state of mind today is a little crazy because
So crazy state of mind.
A crazy state of mind.
I wouldn't look at it that way, but if you do, that's fine. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I just put an offer in on a house. I just found out that I got this house.
Congratulations.
It's crazy expensive. I'm freaking out. I thought I would be excited, but
it's
I'm
okay.
not.
Hey, it's a treat. It's a treat. That's all it is. It's a treat. Right?
Yeah.
You've been at this long enough. It's okay to treat ourselves.
I need my supportive systems.
There
You're
you
right.
go.
I deserve this. That's how I need to look at this. But
well, you also earn this.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, cost is cost.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I can't thank you enough for being vulnerable with us and just sharing your overall experience with this. I think in of itself, design is resilience for me, from my understanding of it. And I think it's this constant idea of testing our creativity, because the issues will always be there and always renew themselves. But do we renew ourselves? And I think you exemplify that in a beautiful way, in a sort of revolutionary way. So I appreciate that, Verda, so much. Your culture, I could see that, and your passion really came through today. So thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I'm excited to give this talk, but excited to just get to know the community a little bit more too.
Great.
So I appreciate you.
Very nice to meet you too, and I can't wait to listen to your podcast.
All right, welcome back, my people. We are here with, this person is probably one of the friendliest people I've ever met. She's super, not just sweet and kind, but also thoughtful, mindful, and careful with who she surrounds this beautiful community with, as far as like our design community here. We're at the IIDA conference once again. Ren has recently become a good friend of mine, and we've been emailing back and forth. We just met in person in real life. And I'm excited. And I have just a few questions for you, Ren, but I know you're kind of like an important piece to all this component. But I want to share with our audience sort of who you are, what you do, where you live, and maybe tell us a little bit about the baby. And just share all the good things you've been sharing with me in the last couple of weeks as I've gotten to know you.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
that is an amazing intro. I'm going
I
to
try.
take you wherever I go. That is incredible. I am Ren Ducherney, and I am originally from Alaska.
Very cool.
So I have escaped. As you can see, I'm down here in Portland. But I have an art history background. I went to did my undergrad on the East Coast because I wanted to get as far away as I could because I was a teenager, and that's what you do.
Sure.
And then I was an architect, or I worked for an architect in Alaska. After I graduated and did interior design there, and
Very cool.
sort of started getting into sort of sustainability.
Yeah.
But in those days, it was like recycled content was the
Yeah.
name of the game. Remember those days?
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
really evolved. And I did sort of commercial work, and then I did residential kitchen and bath, which
Sure.
I actually really love doing.
Sure.
Because those are the places you spend the most time in
Yeah.
your day, and so you could really affect how people live is if they heat their
Yeah.
kitchen, as we were talking about earlier. It makes your life really hard. So I really like doing those spaces. And then I went to grad school at U of O
Cool.
because they had one of the only not licensed, I forget what it was called at the time, but they have a path to licensure when you're
Sure.
an interior designer. So that was
They have really
important
good
to me.
programs, yeah.
They have a really good program.
Yeah.
It's known for its sort of focus on sustainability, and it was CETA accredited, I think is what
Sure.
it was
You're
called.
kind of like fully packaged
Yes.
by the time you're done, and you're
Exactly.
just like,
Yeah. And so that was really important to me,
Yeah.
which is, why I'm part of IIDA's sort of that importance of being licensed in this profession. And so I started working in Portland. I worked for an interior or an architecture firm as their interiors person. I started to get really into sustainability because I started realizing what the impact interior finishes have on people, on their not just how you feel, but your human body
Yeah.
and the environment, and realize what sort of power we have there.
Yeah.
I took that firm PVC free. We were the first one in Portland to do that. And then I jumped ship out of the profession and started working for a tech startup as a sustainability director to sort of build sustainability into a materials database.
Yeah.
And I've jumped ship again. And I'm now at the International Living Future Institute, where I sort of grow adoption of the Declare and the Living Product Challenge label and certificate, and those are material health certificates, so for building products. So I talk to manufacturers and designers all day about why you should use healthy building products, which is pretty great. So
I love that so much, man.
So
You've
it's
had
been
a
winding
journey.
fast, yeah.
Yeah, you've had a journey, and that's what it takes. That's the creative
Yeah.
journey. Not only the creative process, but it's a journey,
Yeah.
right? And one thing kind of leads you to the next. Your purpose starts to unfold itself, all those good things. So tell me what IIDA stands for all of us that are, new to this kind of work and
Yeah.
understanding it, and how you got involved with this chapter, and tell us about like sort of that community in of itself.
yeah, so IIDA literally stands for the International Interior Design Association.
Cool.
And it is an organization that seeks to get the interior design profession recognized as a profession. Right now,
Love
you
that.
cannot call yourself an architect unless you've been licensed.
Sure.
That is not the case for interior design. It varies by state to state who can call themselves interior designers, what it encompasses. And so IIDA is really here to say this is a profession that should be recognized legally. And
Yes.
so I am a licensed interior designer, and
Yeah.
I deal with things like code,
Right. Right.
ADA
right.
code, making sure buildings are safe and
All of
accessible,
it.
and so
Yeah.
that's what we do here.
Yeah, yeah. I think, like, and don't get me wrong, I studied architecture, all that good stuff, right? And I think when I used to tell people I'm an architect, whatever, and interior design, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I love laying out the inside of a house, and it looks like, no, this is more than laying out
Yeah.
pillows. Like,
Exactly.
like, for real, it's really intense
Literally,
work.
your safety is involved. Yeah.
Yes, we're talking about, it's very intense work, and it's
Yeah.
extremely creative, and you really have to, like, because you're working with confines, like you're
Yeah.
kind of given the platform, and then it's like already rigid, and you have to work within that to be creative, and that is even more challenging than having like an open slate.
Yeah.
So I commend my interior design friends, because it is not easy.
Yeah, we usually inherit
Yeah.
something, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, exactly. But you guys do wonders, and that really, I mean, it is the art in which we inhabit, and you take the architecture form and take it even that step deeper, and I just love that. So
People always ask me what is interior design, and I always tell people it's the stuff that you touch
yes,
every day.
yes,
So, and that's why I get really.
and that's the most human tactical
most
thing
important-
ever, right?
exactly.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you pull up to a ginormous building, concrete, whatever, the glass, you can't touch that
You can't
stuff.
touch it.
It's beyond you,
Yeah.
right? That's really cool. I appreciate that. So I have 3 quick questions. I know you've thought about these, maybe or maybe not. But what does supportive structures mean to you?
What do supportive structures mean to me? I can go literal, or I can go sort of metaphysical with this.
Bring Ren into the
Okay,
equation.
well, if I was talking about if it was an interior space, a supportive structure, literally to me is a space that everyone feels safe in. One of the things that drives me a little bit nuts about this industry is the world of design has been dominated by white men pretty exclusively, and the spaces don't feel good if you are not that person.
I mean, I've been trying to say, but nobody wants to hear me. I'm just
But I mean, like, think about the
Yes.
times that you were in a building and you were like, I don't feel quite good here. Like, for instance, there's a library where I'm from, and if you want to take the stairs, you have to take the back way. And if you are a woman, you're not going to take those stairs, not ever. And so if you want to get your exercise,
or me. I don't want to take
Anyone.
those back stairs.
no,
I'm scared.
nobody
I'm
wants to do that. Or like,
Right.
long dark hallways where you don't see the end, who's coming around.
Right.
Like, there's just these things that like
human security.
humans think about.
Yeah.
Or like, what if you have mobility issues, or
Yeah.
you have a baby stroller, which I'm dealing with now because I have a 9-month-old. Just
Sure.
like stuff that it takes to be a human in a space. It's just if you have a society that's been built around supporting you. You
Yes.
don't think about supporting others in a space. And so when I
That's
think of
such-
supportive structures, I think of places where women, children, people with mobility issues, people with disabilities of any kind, feel safe, feel like they know where to go, feel like they belong. And so that is something that I really try to think about when I'm in spaces, when I'm designing spaces, which I don't do anymore, but that is something I think about a lot.
That's amazing. That's such a high level yet very tangible
Yeah.
thing to be aware of,
Yeah.
right? As a human being, and especially as you evolve. You have kids. You're like, I didn't think about carrying the thing down the stairs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not only creative design. That's important design
Yeah. And
to
it's
our
a way,
human ideologies and connections.
Yeah, it's a way for designers to have real power.
Yeah.
Sort of political power.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something that we do every day, and so
Yeah.
it may feel as banal as I'm making a bathroom, but those spaces really matter to people.
They do.
Think about
They do.
when you're in an airport and you're like, I have all this stuff with me, and I need to I just need to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Like, those spaces start to really matter.
Yes,
And so,
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in airports. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
it's
even
very
the little
cool.
things matter to designers.
They do, of
Harness your
course.
power.
I love that. What does resilient design mean to you?
Ooh, this is when I start to get pretty sort of sustainable minded. We talk about resiliency a lot, and what sort of forms that can take. To me, resiliency is building structures or spaces that can adapt. Because when you think of buildings are going to outlast us. I
100%.
have my husband actually is in landscape architecture, and they think in such a different mind frame or time frame and mindset, because nothing that they design will look the way they think until after they're gone, right?
Right.
And so they think
Because it will grow.
because it will grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the way that they think is just such a different
Yes.
thought process, and so that's to me part of resiliency. Is like, how am I building something? How am I designing something now
That'll
that in
outlast
100
me.
years someone's gonna still enjoy or still love?
Yeah.
And so to me, that is part of resilience, is understanding like how are you a good ancestor?
Yes. Walking around. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
Walking around the Taj Mahal
Yes.
made me think about what you just said.
Yeah. I mean, and we talk about these amazing spaces.
Yes.
You know, the ones you can sort of list off the
Right,
top of your
right,
head. The
right.
ones that are like, oh, you must go to these
Iconic,
places.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're places where you can sort of feel that, you know, and they've transformed and they've been able to
really
sort of
thought
respond.
about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. That's how I was able to connect to it, at least. And I just love your thought process in the sense of time. What does time mean to resiliency? I love that. I think another one of your colleagues brought that up too. So, lastly, share a story that helped define your state of mind.
Oh boy, this one is help define my state. The other day, and by the other day I mean before the pandemic. So like, what is time? That's like 19 months ago.
What is time?
There's a store here in Portland called Wild Thing.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
They design amazing feminist,
Yeah.
sort of gender inclusive clothing. They had a sign out front that said, "Do no harm, but take no shit." And to me, that's sort of what I try to live with.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm a big nerd who used to read Miss Manners, which is like the original Dear Abby.
Yeah.
And she talks about how in society it's important to set boundaries with people. That being polite
Yes.
doesn't mean letting people walk all over you, because that's not what polite society is. It's about saying that was not appropriate, and I will not tolerate that because
Yeah.
I respect myself and I respect you. And so to me, the do no harm but take no shit is sort of reminiscent of that, of like, we all need to show up, but it's okay to set those boundaries and know when it's okay to say no thank you. So,
Yo, I love that so much. Take no shit, state of mind.
Dude, that is a t-shirt.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, friend.
Thank you.
One, for having me, for putting this on, for going through the troubles and bringing people together and all these
know.
things. You guys worked your butt off, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
so excited to be here, meet more of your colleagues, and do this talk. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of The Art of Resilience. If this episode helped you in any way, please drop a comment, subscribe, or share this episode to help a friend. Thanks to our sponsors, Portland Gear and Portland State University School of Business. If you'd like more, check out refugees.com for more episodes, our newest Refugees campaign, events, resources, and my upcoming book, Art of Resilience. Here's a freebie. Use code FREE-SHIPPING right now and help us grow the awareness and the brand. Till next time, keep growing your state of mind.